Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Create Smarter podcast. I'm Phil DiMartino here today with Tyler Pyburn. Hello, Tyler.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Today, we are talking all about events, live streaming, and how to not just make it good, but make money off of it when you're hosting an event. It's an exciting topic, and it's something that comes up a lot when we talk to people about hosting an event and whether or not they should live stream, and if so, how much, and how do we make it worthwhile and defray the costs, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today, right?
Well, live streaming isn't cheap. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind with everybody. They look at it and say, I want to live stream it, I want to reach a bigger audience, I want to get more people where they are, but it costs a lot to do that, and understandably so. There's a lot of technology that's involved, and there's simple ways to do it, and there's more extravagant ways to do it that obviously cost a whole heck of a lot more money. So one of the questions we get is there any way to offset these costs or even make money off this live stream? If I'm paying, we'll just say $10,000, right? And that's just a random number I'm throwing out. Can I do something that makes me $10,000 so that it's just kind of moot point, that it's offsetting the cost? Or can I actually make money off this, that it becomes a revenue generating thing? Because when it comes to events, you're spending a lot of money. It stinks to do things that don't generate any revenue whatsoever.
Sometimes I think it's helpful to take things to like the extreme and like the hyperbole in order to like illustrate to people what's possible and what's not. And when people say it's not possible to make money on a live stream, I would say, have you heard of, the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Grammys, right? And obviously you're not that, but yes, it's possible to make money on a live stream. It just depends on how big your audience is and how you're gonna go about leveraging different things like advertisements and rights and access and sponsorship. All of these things come into play. So yeah, of course it's possible. It's just a matter of, is there an audience for it, and how do you go about doing it, right?
Well, what's funny is you say the Super Bowl. I mean, the way you should be positioning your event is the Super Bowl of your topic, right? It might be the Super Bowl of technology, consumer technology. It might be the Super Bowl of camera equipment. It might be the Super Bowl of running shoes, whatever that might be. But that's how you should position your event anyways. It's the premier event for XYZ specific topic.
Right. And I know one we like to talk about and we're going to talk about here is the Consumer Electronics Show. And you mentioned that is kind of the Super Bowl of electronics. They have high profile live streams that include, big name speakers from different companies and things like that. And guess what? They do make money on that, or they can if they'd like to. I don't know specifically, what the mechanism is for different elements of their stream, but people will sponsor that because they know a lot of people are going to watch it, right?
Well, people will sponsor, they'll pay to watch it. There's all sorts of different things out there.
So when people say, oh, I don't want to live stream because, it's expensive and I can't make money off it, I think first and foremost, I like to go to the extreme to just kind of nix that. If you're doing something good and positioning it the right way, there's always a revenue stream in there somewhere. It's just a matter of putting in the time and energy to think about how to make it work and making sure you have a good idea. And maybe you'll get to the point and say, well, in this case, we don't have an idea that's compelling or conducive to live streaming. But at its core, it is possible, and some of these bigger events prove that out. So I kind of just want to start there. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, when you think about an event that's obviously not the Super Bowl, maybe not to the size of the Consumer Electronics Show, maybe something more like an expo or a trade show.
Niche.
Where do you start with people when they say, this is expensive? What can I do to either defray the cost or break even or maybe even make some money on it?
The very first thing you have to do is make sure that your live stream is something that is worth watching, right? Will the consumers actually watch it? Will they want to enjoy it? Will they take notes? Is it educational? Is it exciting? Is it engaging? Start with the actual content itself and then figure out, okay, what are we going to do? And there's a couple of different things that you can do right off the bat to try to monetize your live stream. The very first thing that everybody immediately says, well, do we sell a digital ticket? Right? That's the very first thing that people always wonder. Can I sell a digital ticket to this? Can people actually watch this from their office, from their home, from their vacation, wherever they may be? People that can't attend in person, can they still get there? Can they maybe not take the entire full day off and spend $1,000 for a ticket, but can they, maybe tune in virtually, remotely? And can I charge $250 a ticket and things like that? So that's one of the very first ways to do it. But what's the very first question that people always ask when we say, oh, sell a digital ticket and offer it up virtually?
Is this going to bring down my in-person attendance? Are people only just going to watch online and pay the smaller fee and then not show up in person? Are we going to kill our in-person audience, basically?
And the answer is no, because like you said, the Super Bowl, right? People will go to the Super Bowl and spend thousands of dollars for a ticket, but where do the majority of the general public like to do it? They watch it from their home. So there's still that experience there in person that you want to go ahead and have and be with the celebrities or be with the other high profile guests that are in person. Networking, those are things that really just don't happen online. But that's why you don't charge as big of a ticket for it, because it isn't that same experience. You can't get that handshake, that hug, that hello in person online that you can't get in person.
Yeah, and it obviously depends on the event, but every in-person event, and I think, to bring it back to people who say that, I would ask them, why would someone come to your event, right? Mm-hmm. And if their answer is, just to view the sessions, well, there probably should be a little more of a hook for your in-person event, right? If you go to a big trade show where a lot of B2B deals get done, those aren't getting done, in a virtual live stream, right? You can watch content in a virtual live stream, but going and talking, distributor to retailer, that's happening in person. And you're going in person to kind of and the event is designed to bring all these people together. A big educational-based event still has often, a big networking component where you're going to get to meet people in your field. Maybe you'll have a chance to advance your own career by meeting people, not just by attending sessions. So I think it comes down to when people say, "Oh, I'm worried that a digital ticket is going to bring down my attendance." I think you have to go back to what is the reason that someone would come in person to your event.
And really seldom, I think the best example of it was there was a storage conference many years ago that was live streamed, super technical, very educational, that everybody in person was writing down every single detail, taking shots of the slides. And I'm sure the people that were live streaming it and watching it remotely were also doing the exact same thing. However, after one of these technical speakers, one of the sessions wrapped up, he actually walked away. They went to lunch right after that. He had a couple of people from the event went and sat down with him and picked his brain a little bit more about his specific topic and said, "Oh, did you think of doing it this way?" And all of a sudden they were bouncing ideas. And I was sitting next to them at lunch, because you know how we are when we're at a table, we're all of a sudden just grabbing lunch very quickly, and we're sitting with a lot of attendees, sometimes speakers. And I was hearing the conversation. That can't happen virtually.
Right.
That will not happen for the online attendees. They will definitely have great notes. They'll see the sessions front to back. It'll be fantastic, but they can't pick the person's brain over a cup of coffee right afterwards.
Right. And I think that's a really important thing. It shouldn't be possible for you to give away the whole in-person experience online, or to provide the whole in-person experience online. Even going a step beyond that, though, you might say, well, there's 20 educational sessions. We're going to sell a digital ticket for 10 of them. If you want the whole experience, you've got to come in person, right? So even the stuff that is really conducive to an online viewing experience, it's like, well, we're not going to do the whole thing. Or if you want all 20, you're paying the same price as an in-person attendee, and then, by the way, you're making more profit as an event organizer because you're not paying for meals.
Yep.
So, I think it should start with, why would people come in person? And then when you start thinking about a digital ticket, you have to take it down to the level of, well, why would they watch online? Right? And you talk about technical sessions and education and things like that. And I think you need to make sure that whatever you're selling in your digital ticket is content that is, conducive to an online audience. Maybe you have a really big name speaker, a motivational speaker or something like that, and maybe that would be the draw. Maybe. More often than not, if people are paying, it is for that that kind
it's
of
usually the technical know-how.
The technical know-how that you can't get anywhere else, right?
Exactly.
And I can't get there in person, or I don't have the budget to get there in person, but I do want to learn this thing, and I can't get it anywhere else.
Or it could be simple, right? It might be, here's how to use Canva. Here's how to create an incredible pivot table. Now, those YouTube tutorials might exist, but you're watching someone in real time do it and have the ability to ask questions.
That's what I was going to say. And I think if you are going to provide a digital ticket, you need to make sure you do it the right way, which is to say, allow for interaction, right? Live. The whole point of doing something live is so that, oh man, this is where I've gotten stuck on this before. Can I drop a question in to ask the presenter, right? Make it worth it, right? And also make it good. Make sure that you're not taking it for granted. It's just not one camera in the back of the room with, junky audio. It's produced well so people can see what's going on, get a great experience watching from home and be able to engage in some way. And if you do all those things and you think critically about it, a digital ticket is a viable option for most events. And if you really look at it and say, we don't have anything that would be valuable to people, valuable enough for people to pay for it, I'd be like, well, maybe you should reevaluate the agenda for your conference, because there should be something there, right? If there's sessions, there should be something there that's valuable to people at home.
And a digital ticket is only one way to do it. Now, perfect example right now, I'm holding up a Dunkin' mug, right? We are not sponsored by them. Dunkin', if you want to sponsor us, go right ahead. That'd be fantastic. But you can have your live streams be co-sponsored by, yes, it's sponsored by the Consumer Electronics Show, but it's also sponsored by Motorola. It's also sponsored by Sony, Panasonic, whoever it may be. And, in its most simplistic terms, it's having branding on the desk. It's having branding as part of it. It's on the live stream. This is brought to you by XYZ sponsor, right? Very simple, light lifts that can help offset those costs, right? Charge, hey, we know we're going to get 1,000 people watching for this entire live stream right now. What is 1,000 people watching worth to you as a sponsor? Can you go ahead and say, well, yeah, I'd love to have this entire live stream sponsored. The graphics on the lower thirds, have those be sponsored. Maybe run an advertisement. Now, that's the old school way of thinking of things.
But
it works.
But you bring that into this, and I think the old school way of thinking about it is, you have Nielsen ratings, to be able to show, on average, the 5 o'clock news gets, 500,000 viewers. And thus we're going to pay, go back to the Super Bowl again, a 30-second spot costs whatever, $8 million because we know 50 million people are going to be watching. Your numbers are going to be much smaller than that, obviously, but you need to be able to, with some degree of confidence, if you're going to sell sponsorships, let those sponsors know what they're getting, right? Mm-hmm. And, if it's your first time doing a live stream, it might be a little tricky to do that, but that might mean you use registration and you push registration in advance to be able to say in advance of the event, well, we have, 1,000 people signed up for this live stream, right? And the marketing around it's going to have your name on it. And again, it's that old school mindset, college game day, built by the Home Depot, right?
Exactly.
It's always, old school TV. This is what they do. And now the good thing is if you end up doing a live stream, well, the good or bad thing is that you'll have the metrics after the fact to be able to report back. So, if you overperform, you'll be able to go to the sponsor and say, wow, look at all the value you got. Now, the flip side of that is if you underperform, you have to be prepared for that as well. So you really, if you're going to sell sponsorships, I do think you have to set expectations with the sponsor appropriately and say, we're anticipating about this many people, but it could range, and prepare them for that and make sure that there's ways for them to get value out of this, tied to the audience numbers, but also tied to the content and things like that as well.
Well, that's just it. Let's take this one step further. It might be something as simple as, throwing a mug up on a desk, right? But you can go a little bit deeper. Now, a lot of these conferences and trade shows, whatever it may be, have sponsors already there, right? Can you upsell them to just having a booth where they're going to see everybody in person to then saying, well, you're also going to have a live session that I want people to sign up for in advance. Now, the same way you would tell anybody running a webinar. If you just do a webinar that is solely focused on how great you are as a company, nobody's going to watch. People are going to tune out. But if you say, sign up for my webinar about this specific topic where you are going to, go back to what we said earlier, going to learn something, people are then going to sign up. So now you say, sign up for my live stream that happens at 4 p.m. or my live stream that happens at 12 p.m. We're going to cover XYZ topic, whatever it may be. Instead of just saying, well, it's $5,000 for a sponsorship of a booth. Well, now it's $9,000 total for the sponsorship of the booth because you're getting all the people that come and you scan their badge when they show up at your booth, but you're also getting the additional 400 people that signed up for your webinar.
More warm leads, right?
More warm leads that are actively interested in that specific topic. They're actively interested in the latest snowboard gear, whatever that topic may be that you're talking about, that's explaining all of this, this educational session, I should say. People then can walk out of there and say, well, yeah, this was worth it to us because not only did I reach the masses, I'm now really targeting the people that are actively interested in what I'm selling right now too.
Right.
And the things that I'm talking about on a regular basis.
And, ultimately the main thing sponsors want when they go to an event is leads, right? And so
all they care about.
This is another potential way to get them leads. You brought up another kind of idea that you've seen coming out of, kind of cutting edge, I guess, but also super old school technology about real-time selling in live streams as another way for revenue streams and revenue sharing and things like that. Can you explain that a little bit?
This is one of the things that I'm actually really bullish on over the course of the next couple of years. And I feel like you're going to see more You're seeing it right now specifically on things like Instagram and TikTok where influencers are hawking product, right? They're talking about, hey,
Everybody's got something to sell.
everybody has something to sell, whether it's the new jean jacket, whether it's the new mug, whether it's a hat, whatever it may be. You're seeing that everywhere. But I feel like you're starting to see Amazon is pulling the trigger on this more and more. And they're live social selling right now where you can go on Amazon during their Prime Day. There were several influencers that they brought into their studios and said, we're going to go ahead and hawk product on this. Now, if you have a consumer-based trade show, or maybe not even a consumer-based trade, just a trade show in general that has sponsors, that has, whether it's swag or equipment. I'll use snowboarding as an example because I just said that a few seconds ago. Say it's a snowboard show. Well, you have Burton there. They're selling all these different boards, or they're selling new jackets, or they're selling winter hats. You could have an influencer, hey, you tune in. You might not be able to go in person and see the show because it's across the country. But right now you can tune in and see, well, they've got the latest and greatest stuff out there. And they're saying, here, I've got 5 larges, I have 6 extra larges, and a dozen mediums. Do you want to buy this right now? And have that as an online process.
And treat it as an affiliate marketing type of program.
True affiliate marketing program, which, again, we're not quite there right now, but you are, because you're seeing things like Amazon really dive deep into it, and the platforms themselves like TikTok and Instagram, they're doing it as well. I just feel like that's kind of what the future holds for events as well.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to bring up when it comes to sponsors and exhibitors being part of a live stream is that part of the value you should be giving them is content to walk away with as well. And that's not just the, necessarily the cut of somebody holding their mug or the screenshot of somebody holding their mug, although that is potentially valuable as well. But it's, if they come on and do a live webinar, you have clips to send them, you have a full show to send them. If they come on and do an interview with a host where they're being posed as a thought leader, can clip that and have content to send them. So it goes beyond just the live stream, and you're giving them value in terms of content that they can use after the fact where they're positioned as a thought leader as well, right?
Mm-hmm. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it kind of goes back to what we talk about all the time with events, just making it live on past the 1, 2, 3, or 4 days of your event. It needs to go further, but then you're equipping the people with knowledge, 1, and 2, it also becomes a marketing material for you at the end of the day, because then they can go ahead and promote you even more.
Yeah. To tie this all up in a bow, you can have all of this, but you do have to market it, and you have to get people to show up. What are some of the things you've talked to event organizers about in terms of strategies to make sure they get people in front of this? You talk about lead gen and things like that as well. What are some of the things you talk about?
It starts with the hook, right? Blues Traveler said the hook brings you back, right? You need to make sure you
Which
have
is
a
funny
hook.
because the whole point is that was a song about nothing. It was just catchy.
Exactly.
Fun fact, the lyrics are
I
all just
know.
about how the hook is
How the hook
nonsense.
is what brings you back.
But your hook
it's
can't be
okay.
nonsense.
No, your hook can't be nonsense, but you need to have a hook. And it can't just be, come watch our amazing live stream, right? That's not a hook. Just put yourself in the attendee's shoes. You have to have specific reasonings, whether it's you're going to win something, whether you're going to learn something, or you're going to have exclusive access. You have to have something that brings people back, brings people in there. And if you have a live stream for an entire day, maybe you break that up into 7 different segments. And just like you would in the news, you're teasing someone. Hey, make sure you show up. You're watching right now at 9 a.m. Make sure you come back at 11 because we're going to have this session. But also leading up to the event, having the ability to people to sign up for that live stream goes a long way specifically for the attendees. Treat it like a webinar in a sense, right? Where they can register for this topic, register for that topic. You're doing that anyways for an event because you have all these event apps that they're signing and they're building their tracks ahead of time. Let people build their tracks ahead of time as well from a digital perspective. And even if it is just the exact same live stream, the attendees don't necessarily know that. They're building out their own experience and they're saying, I want to hear this person talk. I want to learn about that subject and I want to try to win this item, right? So this is what I'm doing for the course of the day. These are the 3 things I'm going to hit over the course of an hour, 2 hours, however long the live stream is.
It's true for live streams. It's true for everything that you talk about the hook, which is you have to start with the why, right? If you're producing something, whether it's live or on demand, I think we try to get back to this with everyone, like objective. What's your objective for your specific audience? Why would somebody watch this, right? I heard a really interesting podcast the other day talking about like the choices people have right now. And, you think about, social media is overwhelming and algorithms are overwhelming. You have to remember that when you create something, whether it's live or on demand, you are competing with the entire library of content that has ever existed on Earth. People have access to every piece of content that has ever been created on Earth. And at any given time, they could say, you know what? I think I'm going to go watch an episode of Cheers. What? You think about that. You're going to compete with the greatest television shows, the greatest books, the greatest songs of all time. You have to give people a reason to do stuff. It's not enough to just say, well, it's important to us, right? You have to create a why. Why would someone tune in? And it could be entertainment. It could be education. It could be accruing value in terms of a prize. But you have to think about, who is my audience and why would they show up? Because ultimately, if you don't give them a strong why, there is literally infinite other content that they can engage with that does check a box of a why for them. That's going to teach them something or entertain them or just take their mind off of their lives for 20 minutes. You have to have a strong why. And that's the most important part of all of this, because otherwise, you're not going to get people to tune in.
You can't do it for the sake of doing it. You have to have a reason behind it.
And that's true with your conference too. I mean, that's true with anything.
With everything, right? Your conference has to be focused on that. But take that similar mentality as what the attendees are going to enjoy there in person back to what you're doing virtually, right? Start with that why, answer that question, and you'll be successful.
Hey, it's that simple. So,
surprised no one does it all the time, right?
Well, thanks so much for watching and listening this episode of the Create Smarter podcast. If you want to learn more about how to put some of these ideas into practice at your own event, just reach out. You can reach out to Phil at 5 Tool Productions or Tyler at 5 Tool Productions. We'll be happy to talk to you and brainstorm your why. Tyler, thank you so much.
Thank you, Phil, and thanks to all those that were tuning in and listening.
Have a great day. Thanks so much. See you next time on the Create Smarter podcast.